Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we saw in the last class how someone wishing to realize Atman to the indulgence of the body is compared to someone who wishes to cross the river riding a crocodile, thinking it to be wood. Sarira poshanarthi san e atmanam didrikshate graham darudhya dhritva nadim tattum saichati. Tries to cross the river by riding on the back of a crocodile, thinking to be wood. So a person who indulges in body, who gives rise to the demands the body, is in such a deluded state. How dangerous it is to ride a crocodile, to cross the river. Not only it will completely devour you, and that is, you will be finished. So, how dangerous it is to depend on the body. How dangerous it is to entertain this body and its demands. So, through that sloka, Shankara Bhagavad has conveyed us beautifully the dangers of such a dependence. So, therefore, he says, the wise man seeking liberation should give up the fondness of the body. Moheva mahamrityuhu mumukshur vapuradishu moho vinijitayena sa mukti padam arhati. Moheva mahamrityuhu. This is a great death, mahamrityu. For the seeker of liberation, mumukshoho vapuradishu, the attachment to body, etc., moha. Vaparadish moha, it's mahamrityu eva. It's like the great death is his attachment to the body. And then, moho vinijitayena sa mukti padam arhati. Only those who have conquered, they alone, mukti padam arhati, they alone deserve, they alone are fit for liberation, who are free from this attachment, who have conquered, who have won over this moha, vinirjita. So, a person who is dead, Mahamrityu, cannot do anything. In the same way, one who is subject to moha cannot strive for liberation. He is absolutely as good as dead. He has no capacity to strive for, to struggle for liberation. So he who alone was conquered the moha, was a feeling of I and my body, etc. They alone are deserving to tread the path of mukti, and they alone will be finally liberated. So, Vapuradishu, it will also explain the next sloka, beginning with body. Body is the tremendous, the feeling I and mine, think of the body as me, and then all related etc. as mine. It's a terrible bondage, terrible moha, it says. Because if you analyze our lives, the maximum part of our existence is largely taken up of our body only. Most of it, if you see the majority of the time, from the time we get up one day and then to the next day in the 24 hours, eating, sleeping, and then other functions, and then taking bath, other cleaning, etc. All put together, if you see, almost people spend something like 80 to 90% in such activities, bodily related activities. Of course, if you, those who work, etc., are okay, but then, the point is, a tremendous amount of time is spent in tending to the body. Not only that, even if we do not do anything directly connected to the body, the mind is often perched on the body. It has taken its place permanently. So anything that happens anywhere, anytime, at any moment, again and again, we are reminded of the body. The body makes constant demands. Now you do this, now you do this, now you go to rest, now you get up, now you eat this, now you drink this. So even when you are engaged otherwise doing other things, in between we keep eating, we keep drinking, doing something else. That means what? Constantly the thought of the body and its demands are persistent, continuous, kind of unbroken throughout. See the kind of delusion or moha, that is calling it as Mahamrityu, like a terrible death, death of a very terrible nature. It's a great Mahamrityu. Because you see, a little freedom from that, how free you feel. So a little one degree less, immediately you have to take out the winter clothing, you have to put on this, you have to put on that, you need chappal, you need socks, anything, constantly anything with the external world, directly we take it upon the body. Oh, this will happen. Then the sharir kharab ho jayega. This and that. Constantly, every action, anything happening in the external world, immediately. Apart from that, not only we directly think of that, we indulge, we practice and all that, we give indulgence to, even anything happening at the level of the mind, immediately it affects the body. You are feeling this thing, then it is a fever or a stomach ache or headache or this and that. Most of the psychosomatic diseases, the reason is the mind, they manifest in the body as disease. They say many kinds of ulcers, this and that, they are physically there, but the reasons are all mental or psychosomatic. So, the greatest bondage or the one which really keeps us away from the path of mukti or liberation is this terrible attachment to body, which occupies a huge amount of our time, not only at the physical level, even at the mental level. So while talking about liberation, that's why the great Shankaracharya wants to first make us understand what is really holding us back, what exactly is the problem. Of course, to drive home the point again, he hammers it in the next sloka again. To give up moha, except moha, moham jahi mahamrityum dehadara sutadishu yam jitva maniyo yanti tad vishnu paramam padam. So, moham jahi, mean jahi is actually kill. Mahamrityum jahi. Give up this attachment to the body. Deha dara sutatishu. The lot, what they said, vapuradishu means starting from body, he goes further. Body, wife, and sons, etc. I mean, the relatives, all the other things coming with that, which is the great death, this moha, this mahamrityu of this deha, dhara, sudatusha, attachment to this body, wife, children, etc., kill it completely. And yam jitva, by overcoming that, but conquering it, munyoho, tad Vishnu parampadam yanti. They attain the supreme state of Vishnu or they attain the supreme state of Brahman, the highest state they attain. So not only actually Adi means wife, children, wealth, friends, other possessions, everything is included there. Moham, this is already said, this is a terrible delusion, Bhranti. Mahamritim is a great death for delusion. Why? Because it conceals our real nature, is the cause of non-realization Atman. The Atman is assumed, the body is assumed to be the Atman and this and that. That is why we are constantly suffering. Jahi actually means destroy or kill. So the Jitva means victory. How do you conquer? What is the victory? By abandoning the false identification of the Atman with the body, etc. Though deep rooted to the existence for a long time, it's not. That's why this avidya is called anadi. No one knows when it began. When this great Brahman got entangled in this idea of body, etc., they say it is due to avidya or maya, but it's called anadi because no one knows how it happened. So, how do you get over it? By the words of the Guru, based on the Shrutis, etc., and by practicing all those four disciplines and then mokshitva, etc., etc. They reach Tad Vishnu Parampadam, the supreme state of Brahmanhood. They attain the highest. It is infinite and it is devoid of any limitation. And then further he says, further he again goes further. Tvak mangsha rudhira snayu medu majja asti sankulam purnam mutra purishabhyam sthulam nindyamidam vapuhu. See how to develop distaste, this revulsion from the gross body. How it happens? Because the attachment to this body is absolutely unjustified, it is undeserving, because it consists of such impure things. Even if you think of it, you will be extreme revulsion you will develop. This, why it is Nindya Midamapuhu, why this Robert is despicable or worthy of condemnation? Because it consists of tvak, the skin, then flesh, blood, and snayu, blood vessels, then nerves, and fat, marrow, and bones, majja, asti, sankalam, it's a combination. Not only that, mutra purishabhyam, it also is also mala and mutra, etc. This is the complete description of the body. Such a thing, what is there in this body? Sri Ramakrishna used to say, when the body of a most beautiful person, if you think of it, what it consists, you have nothing but revulsion. People have so much attraction for husband, for wife, for men and women, and whatever it is. But if you think what is there, it's all covered with some skin or something, is given a shape, but people think it is wonderful, it's worthy of having. But if you really analyze, understand, it's most repulsive in nature, and the need to cultivate attachment because it is full of impure and offensive things. It consists of all that. But the skin, the blood, other things like blood vessels, fat, marrow, bones, and also malamutra, etc. The extreme repulsiveness is by mentioning finally even this malamutra, etc. So imagine if such a thing, how how despicable and what a condemnable entity is his body. Yet we pay so much attention to it, we dress it up, we give this, we do that, we show to everybody, this is wonderful, so beautiful, we want to exhibit, we want to attract others. Everything is absolutely meaningless because there is nothing but certain bones and this and that placed in certain places and wound up together with skin. This is what it is. So horrible. Should anyone pay attention to it so much? So that's why he says, unless you give it up, it's not possible to proceed further. See, because you see, the imagination of an Atman, it starts from our attachment to the body, is it not? If the body, see, why the body is thought of as permanent, it's something which is eternal. That's why we tend to the body, why we pay so much importance to it, why we want to dress it, why we want to attend to it. Because we want to live for eternity. We don't think that this is something which will be destroyed, this is something which is anitya, this is something which is impermanent. No, we all think that we will live forever. So the first step in the journey from an Atman to Atman or this Viveka, that is separating the Anatman and the Atman, the first step is to develop this distaste or dislike for the body so that we know, yes, it is just there, it will be there. It is nothing great. You should never mistake it for something which is permanent. If the Atman is supposed to be of the nature of eternity, it is the nature of Sachit Ananda Swarup, something which is never destroyed, it is there forever. How can it be this body which is so full of things, all of which are extremely fragile and perishable in nature? All the elements that we describe. Everything is, you keep it in 2 days, it will all get dried up, whether the skin or the blood or even the bones, marrow, everything is just for a very short time. The body which we tend to be so much care and this and that, the moment it dies, within a certain time it is not removed, you have to run away from that place. It starts stinking so badly. Maybe the dearest person, body may be that of the dearest person. Immediately you have to put it in some deep fridge or whatever it is. Otherwise, it is so dirty and so foul smelling, can't even stay near it. So such a body should be get attached to it. What a terrible moha it is. That's why he says it's like Mahamrityu. It's like a terrible death is his attachment or moha to this body. So now again he takes up Shankaracharya, the topic of discrimination between Atman and Anatman. He has completely described the perishable nature of the Stula Sharira, the gross body, how bad it is, and then he goes, Panchikritebhyo bhutebhyaha स्थूलेभ्यः पूर्वकर्मणः समुत्पन्नमिदं स्थूलं भोगायतनमात्मनः अवस्था जागरस्तस्य स्थूल अर्थ अनुभवो यतः. So how this stula sharira, this gross body, how is produced? It is produced out of the previous karmas. Because once death happens, the sukshma sharira and the karana sharira, they go away. And the stula sharira dies. So when the new stula sharira is created, or the sukshma sharira and the karana sharira, they take refuge or take recourse to a new sharira, depending upon the karmas, whatever you have done in this life, accordingly we get the next body. So the gross body is produced by purva karmana. The stulebhyaha is comprised, but not only that, what are the elements? The panchabhutas, panchikritebhyo. We talked about the panchikarna, how the one half of each of the panchabhutas, Prithvi, Ap, Tej, Vyom, Marut, is taken, and 1/9 of the stula aspect of each of these elements, and they are combined together. 4 into 1/8 is half plus 1 half. That is how the Panchabhuta, the world is created, and we are all part of that. So creation takes place according to the past karma, and by the panchikarna, out of that is created, and then this is the why it is samutpanni vidam stulam bhogayatanam atmana. Samutpanna, it is manufactured beautifully, created beautifully. Idam stulam, this stula sharira, bhogayatanam atmana. Here atmana means the jiva. It is bhogayatana. It is the instrument for the jiva's experience. Avastha jagarastasya stula artha anubhavayatah. That is the waking state. Jagarata. Jagara avastha tasya jagraha. This is called the waking state in which experience stula artha anubhavaha. It experiences the gross objects. So we saw how the pancha bhutas from this a subtle element, the gross aspect of that, they manufacture the gross body. And then according to purva karma, that is, according to the purva karma, one gets either the divine body or the subhuman body or the human body. How? That is, if is full of punya karma, then it gets the divine body. But if it's completely papa karma, it goes to the animal kingdom or subhuman body. And if it's a mixture of punya and papa karma, he gets a human body in the next birth. So it says samutpanna, that is, it is not only utpanna, not only created, samutpannam, very well, there is no confusion. Because depending upon the type of karma, the particular kind of body is produced. It is intended to remove any doubt about any mixture, admixture. Because if you have pure punya karma, that will not lead to any other body other than the divine body. Only if you have done only papa karma, you will only go to the subhuman level. If a mixture of papa and karma, which most of the human beings do, they get in the next life again a human body. So Ishvara, who is the dispenser of the fruits of karma, he is he yeah, he gives jiva a particular body strictly on the basis of the karma previously performed. So this is the vehicle. This tool body is the vehicle for the experience. Bhogayatanam atmana. Here the jivasya of the jiva is the place of enjoyment for bodily pleasures or the experience of the gross objects Of course, in which there is always pleasure and pain, etc. Avastha Jagrastasya. This is the gross body is wrongly always identified as Atman or the Supreme Self, because not only it's wrongly identified means we do not know anything like Atman at all. We don't have any knowledge at all. It is not that we know the Atman, we know the Anatman, and we identify the Anatman with the Atman. We think that we are only this gross body and this mind. We do not think of anything, any entity beyond that. Only if there is some kind of awareness, then there is a question of distinction, there is a question of discrimination, then there is a question of separation of the Atman and Atman. It is not that we identify, we create that body as Atman. We know only body. We think there's only this body and mind. We don't think there's anything beyond that. So, but in effect, that is identifying this body with that supreme. So, this gross body, there is all the worldly pleasures, whatever is there in the external world. So, the time of such experience is called Jagra, that is well waking condition. Jagritam means wakefulness, is the ability to perceive objects by sense objects. Indriyartha Indriyaihi artha upalabdhir jagritam. The ability to perceive objects by sense organs. Each organ has a presiding deity, as we have seen earlier also. The eye, the ear, the nose, the skin, and the jihva, they all have the presiding deity. So, with the help of the presiding deity, the organs they experience through the senses, they experience the sense objects. So, in the dream, the sense organs are they do not function at all. So they are, that is why the senses etc., which are of the nature of the sound etc., which are nature of vasanas, they are not physical, so they cannot be perceived by the respective organs because they are not functional there. In the dream state, the gross experience does not happen, but dream state has his own dream body, dream senses, dream images, etc. There that experience happens. So in the whatever you experience in the physical level through the gross body, the stula, that is called Jagrat. The state, the time is called Jagrata. Then again he explains it further. बाह्येन्द्रियैः स्थूलपदार्थसेवां श्रक्चन्दनस्त्रयादि विचित्ररूपां करोति जीवः स्वयमेतदात्मना तस्मात् प्रशस्तिर्वपु वपुषोऽस्य jagare. See, identifying itself with the body, Bhashyendi Sula Padarthasevam Vichitra Rupam Karoti Jivaha Swayametat Atmana Tasmat Prashastir Vapushosya Jagare. Identifying itself with the body, the Jiva enjoys gross objects like the garland, sandal paste, even the woman, etc. Bhahyendri Stula Pad. So, Vichitra Rupam, this enjoys through the external objects. Hence, the importance of body in the Tasmat Prashastir Vapushosya Jakare. This is the importance of body in the waking state. Why the body is so important waking state? Because the external object, gross objects like, they are giving example. This is all the classical examples like Srak Chandana Sriyaji. The objects like garland, candle paste, and even other physical enjoyments, etc., they are all possible only through the Bhashendrihi. They are for the Stula Padartha, they are for the enjoyment of the Stula Pada. So, Jivaha Karoti Swayameta Tatpana. Through this, the identifying with the gross body, the Jiva enjoys. Therefore, Tasmat Vapushosya Jagare Prasatihi. The importance of the gross body in the waking state. So, the so many Vichitra Rupam. There are for diverse shapes and forms. It's not only here, Sak Chandanadi, Striya, etc. There are only some, for example, they have stated there are innumerable such objects of enjoyment. They come in so many forms. So that's why it's called Vichitra Rupam. Sula Padartha Sevam, for the enjoyment of the Padartha Sevam is the enjoyment of the gross objects. So the experience of pleasure and pain generated by the grace of the deity presiding over each particular sense object, the deity presiding over ears, nose, etc. They in turn they generate the pain and pleasure, etc. through such enjoyment. So etadatmana, by the nature reflected in the gross body through the mind or by its sense of Atman superimposed on the gross body. Swayameva Swam etat atmana. By this, through the gross body, the jiva enjoys all this. So actually, why there is so much emphasis about the Jagrat? In the dream state, there is no association of the mind with the gross body. So there is no reflection of the chit, and therefore there is no physical enjoyment in the dream. But there is another, as I said earlier, there is another gross body of the nature of vasanas. So it is well known that the one has experiences through the forms of bodies of inanimate and divine beings different from the well-known gross bodies. In the dream state, you have totally different kind of enjoyment, different kind of bodies, different kind of experience, etc. But that is not gross or that is not physical because the mind is no longer associated with the gross body. It's completely different. There is they are separated. Therefore, much importance that is gross body to the state of waking. In dream and sleepless states, there is a totally different kind of feeling. So the anatmatva of the gross body is established by distinction from the dream and sleepless state, as it is not apparent in these two, but is clearly seen in the waking state. See, in the dream state, neither do you experience any gross body. It's only the other, in some other way, you enjoy all that. There is absolutely no contact with the physical body or there's no physical enjoyment. So, practically, the gross body doesn't exist at all in one sense in the dream state. Similarly, even in the deep sleep state, there is no perception, no feeling, no experience of the gross body. So, it's very clear the gross body which is given so much of prominence, for which we care for so much, absolutely absolutely has no meaning, it has no importance. How we wrongly identify it as something permanent and eternal, that is again and again emphasized because saying that this is relevance only to the gross body. Beyond that, absolutely it is useless. So but the Atman, which is the witness of all the states, is there behind and is different from everybody. Because if it is gross body may not be there, but in the dream we get so many experiences. In fact, quite often the experiences of the dream are much more powerful and they make a deep impression and really shake us up as compared to the waking state. So there is something, behind which is observing the dream, just as something which as a witness observes the waking state. And similarly, the same Sakshi observes what is happening in the dream, in the beyond that, in the deep sleep also. Because when you get up, we say that, oh, I enjoyed my sleep. I was so happy. I slept very well. So there is no gross body. The mind even does not function. Everything is totally silent there. What experiences it or what witnesses it is actually the Atman, the Sakshi, which is behind all the three states. So here he gives a very beautiful example. Just as in the world, no one looks upon his house as himself. One knows that house is for a different purpose, although one owns it, one enjoys it, one uses it for various activities. No one would ever say that I am same as my house. Is as ignorant, as silly as to say that the gross body is myself. I and my gross body are one and the same. Sarvopi bahya samsarah purushasya yadashriyah vidhi dehamidam stulam grahavat deha medinaha. No, this dehamidam stulam, this gross body, is that on which rests man's the entire contact with the external world. Sarvopi bahya samsara purushasya yad ashraya, the ashraya, purushasya ashraya, the dependence of the purusha, or the person, on bahya samsara, external world, with the know that to be dehamidam stula, this stula. So, it is like grahavat grahameginaha, like the house of a householder or a person who is in samsara. It is only that much. So, in a person in the external world, see, normally can think of there are two things. The internal samsara relates to the pain and pleasure, enjoyment, etc. External samsara relates to birth, death. They often in this book they often talk about the stoutness of a person, with the shape of the body, etc. So the externals were clearly stated, will be discussed next sloka. The Purusha is asamsari, is not part of the samsara, is not affected by anything that is happening in the samsara. So the identification of the Atma in the body is just like the householder who is living in a house is connected to the house. That much is the connection of the Atman with the Sharira. A person, a householder, lives in a house. It is his house. So he has constructed it for various activities, for his to live with his family and his children, etc. What is his connection? He uses it for this purpose of living. He knows that it is completely different from the house. He has no other identification. He knows it has a specific purpose, namely to carry on the activities. Similarly, the connection between the Sharira and the Atman is only that much. The Sharira is only for the purpose to go through this physical uh, eh, the disciplines and through that slowly develop Vairagya, etc. and to ultimately know what is the true Atman. Otherwise, there's no connection, real connection between this Atman and this Sharira. They are totally different. So, similarly, the a person who lives in a house, if he mistakes himself to be the house, similarly, one wrongly thinks the gross body is the Atman. The Jiva thinks that old age, etc., the qualities of the body as one's own and undergoes Sukha, Dukkha, etc. These are all functions of the body only. Jara, Marana, Vyadhi, etc. Even the birth, death, all that. But the jiva wrongly thinks to be its own, and that is why it suffers. In the dreamless deep sleep, there is no sense of the gross body or attachment to it. Therefore, in the deep sleep, one is not afflicted by, even if a very old person, supposing he is in extreme pain when he is awake, etc., etc. If he goes into deep sleep, he does not feel any of those things. He is completely free from all that. Therefore, the I or the witness identifying it with completely with the gross body is totally inappropriate, and then this gross body should be understood to be totally different from the Atman. Then again, he explains the external samsara. Stulasya sambhava jara maranani dharmaha saulyadayo bahuvidaha shishuta shishusadi avastaha varnasramadi niyama bahuda mayaha syuhu pujavamana bahumana mukha viseshaha. So what are the characteristics? What are the characteristics of the gross body? Stulasya, what is that? Sambhava jara maranani dharmaha. Birth, old age and death are the dharmas, are the features of the body. Not only that, it has many kinds of bahuvidaha avastaha. What are the bahuvidaha avastaha? Saulyado, stoutness, then shushutadi, infancy, etc. And then varnasramadi niyama bahuda mayaha syuhu. It is subject to the disciplines of varna ashrama niyamaha, that is the disciplines of caste and station, etc., and to various kinds of mayaha syuhu, various kinds of afflictions, vyadhi, sukha, dukkha, so many other things. Not only that, puja, somebody is worshipping, honoring, avamana, then somebody is dishonoring it, and then bahumana sukha viseshaha, someone shows great honor. So many kinds of varied experiences are possible for the body, because what, when someone honors it, someone does a puja, someone disregards it, someone again shows honor. So all these are all possible. Various kinds of experiences are possible. The excessive saulyado, somehow again they bring it into discussion, the stoutness of the body. And then Sishutadi means childhood, boyhood, youth, and adulthood, old age, etc. Whether, and then we have already called that Sambhava, Jara, Maranadi, all these are all. Then not only that, Varnashrama, Varnava Ashramadi Niyamaha, the rules of Varna and Ashramas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, etc., and also Brahmacharya, Garhastha, Sannyasa, all the Vanapastha, Sannyasa, Ashramas, and then Niyamaha, these are the traditional codes of conduct. Bahuda Mayaha, various kinds of ailments like fever, headache, then breaking of limbs and falling ill completely, and so on. Puja, Avamana, Bahumana, Bahumana Mukha Viseshaha. They are honoring, that is, some people honor, they put on sandal piece, flowers, mala, etc. And then they don't even care for the person, they don't even look at him. And then they're not even noticed. And then someone gives high honor, shows a big place for sitting, etc., etc. And then the jata karmas, like for the birth, death, etc., they are done for the body. Similarly, the marks of ashrama, that is brahmacharya, garhastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, etc., they all only relate to the body. Hence, it is said that the duties of the varna and ashrama relate only to the gross body. There is brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, sudra. For whom are these duties? The duties are only for the gross body. But the internal disciplines which are meant for the mind are not seen externally, but the external disciplines relate to the gross body and are perceived outside. Or, of course, you can also interpret that all these observances are to purify the mind through their operation in the body. By leading the life of a brahmacharya, garhastha, etc., one slowly progresses towards ultimately to that mukti or the liberation. So, the false superimposition of the body and the Atman, they are to be adopted for the purpose of obtaining slowly, ultimately, jnana, because we have to use this body, use all these disciplines to purify oneself and slowly understand the wrong superimposition and get rid. That means, therefore, the uh, they all these things, these disciplines, etc., for a particular purpose. But in essence, all these varnashmadi niyamaha, etc., and the puja, homan, etc., they all relate only to the external body. So you mean the large amount of functions, the large amount of our participation in the world, all that we do, they largely relate to only the external body. Most of the time we spend either intending to the body or intending to the rules of discipline, etc. So we keep away from the real purpose of life, namely knowing the Atma. Then he says the how it is to be buddhi indriyani sravanam tvagadi granancha jihva vishaya avabodharat vakya pani pada Gudamapi upastam karmendirani pravanani karmasu. So the ear and then skin, eyes, The nose, tongue are known as Jnanendriyas, Buddhindriyani, Shravanam, Tvag, Akshi, Granam, Jikhva. What is all that? Vishaya Avabodhanath, for getting the knowledge of the external objects. All the Buddhindriyani or the Jnanendriyas, as they call, like the ear, the skin, eyes, nose, and tongue, they for Vishaya Avabodhanath, to get a knowledge of the external world. Vak, Pani, Pada, Uda, Upastam, etc. Karmendriyani, Pravanani, Karmasu. Vocal organs like hands, vak, or vocal organs, hands, feet, penis, genitals, etc. All these are all known as karmendriyanis and they lead to actions. So, these that is why these are the external indriyas, this is what they are located, but actual the experience happened because of the that which is behind that, the devata associated with each indriya, that produces ultimately the experience. So the slowly the idea is again Signature wants to drive home clearly how we are totally engaged in a pursuit which is totally unrelated to Atman. All our time goes in tending to the body or in observing those activities which are all completely, most of the time they are extremely close, very really related to the external body. And then only at very rare instances we go beyond that. So even the states of Jagrat, Swapna, Shruti, etc., they all only relate to functions which are not exactly related to knowing the Atman. So we'll come slowly. Slowly wants to drive home the idea how far away from the real Atman we are. Huh? Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna.